everybody, it's Kelsee Briana J here with a review, swatches, and a tutorial using the new NARS Ignited Eyeshadow Palette. NARS just launched this eyeshadow palette. I picked it up from the Sephora app. It is going to be released in stores on December 10th, so just keep your eyes peeled for that. But this palette initially caught my eye because it looks kind of purpley, and you all know I love purple. But look at this packaging. It's super psychedelic, right? So here's the actual eyeshadow palette. Again, it's the same packaging as the box. So it has that hard shell container. It's pretty weighty. This retails for $59 and it is limited edition. The description for this palette states, shimmering nudes and shade shifting rose glitter catch light for explosive dimension. Burnished mattes smolder with high impact intensity. These versatile pigment-rich shades can be used as an eyeshadow or eyeliner, applied wet or dry. These long-wearing, crease-resistant colors can be applied sheer or layered for more dramatic effects. Micronized powder provides improved wear and feel. The formula provides a high pigment, high shine finish with ultra-fine blends of shimmer, glitter, and pearl to reflect light for eye-catching effects. Let's go inside the palette. So in the palette, we have a mirror and we have 12 eyeshadows, and in each pan there's 0.04 ounces of product. As you all can see, there's a mix of finishes. There's shimmers and there's mattes. So of the shimmers, there's two different types of shimmers in this palette. They're the regular shimmer eyeshadows, and then there's like the pressed glitter type eyeshadows. In this palette, the pressed glitters dominate. There's 6 different shades of the pressed glitters. There's 3 shimmers, and then there's 3 mattes. It's a pretty light toned palette. So if you're a deeper complexion, you are gonna have to reach outside of this palette to get more depth. If I weren't doing this video, I would reach outside of this palette to get more depth as well. The matte colors aren't dark enough. The only color that's really gonna help add dimension to the eye look is this color right here, which is like a pressed glitter type color. So keep that in mind if you are interested in this eyeshadow palette. I do feel that these colors will be best suited for lighter complexions because, like I said, they're very light. A lot of you all have been asking me questions about the similarity of this palette to other palettes that have launched in the market. NARS also has a palette that's similar in their lineup. This palette was also limited edition. That is the Wanted palette. Here's the Wanted palette and the Ignited palette. In my opinion, the Wanted palette is a lot more warm toned and the colors are a little bit darker in comparison to the Ignited palette. As you all can see, this palette is a lot lighter than even this one, which I consider this one a light palette as well. Also, the Wanted palette has more of an even distribution of the finishes of eyeshadows. There's an even amount of like the mattes and the shimmers and the pressed glitters versus the Ignited palette is pretty much dominated by the shimmers. And comparing it to the Kevyn Aucoin Nude Pop palette, I would say the only thing that these two palettes have in common is that they are cool toned eyeshadow palettes. Other than that, all these colors look completely different to me, and the Kevyn Aucoin eyeshadows are a lot darker once you apply them than they look in the pan. And lastly, I wanted to compare this to the Huda Beauty New Nude eyeshadow palette. As you all can see, this palette is a lot more pink in tone, and I feel like the Huda Beauty eyeshadow palette is a bit monotone in that all of the colors are in the same family, and the variation of looks that you're going to get with this palette is pretty much the same. And I feel like the colors in the Ignited palette are in the same family, but I feel like you'll be able to do a few different looks with this eyeshadow palette. But I want to go ahead and jump into swatches of this eyeshadow palette. Following swatches, I want to go ahead and jump into the tutorial, and that way you all can follow me step by step on how I create this eye look. So enjoy. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go in with a little dab of Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. Dab and dab. And then I'm going to blend this out. So I'm going to go in with Hemamet 1, and this is a Royal and Langnickel BLM 13 brush. I am going to fluff this all over my lid. Next, I'm going to take a MAC 217 brush and the color Sophia. Random, but every time I hear the name Sophia, I always think about that scene on The Walking Dead when Daryl is looking for the little girl that went missing. I know, he's like, Sophia! I always think about that. Weird. But I am going to take this in the crease and blend this out. Now, this is the second time that I have used this color in my crease, and learning from my first experience, I know that this color needs a more abrasive brush, because if you use a brush too soft with this, it's going to apply very patchy. So you need something that's really going to get in there and work this color out. But I'm going to take this directly in the crease and then slightly blend it upwards. Same brush, and I'm going to take the color Numea. I am going to take this directly in the crease. So just back and forth. I'm going to deposit this color. So I'm going to gradually build that color up and then bring it upwards. But I don't want to cover up the transition color that we applied too much. Just ever so slightly to where those colors diffuse onto one another. And again, same brush. I'm going to take the color Point Noir. I want this right on the very outer corner. Now this color has a bit of fallout, so I'm going to spray my brush with a little bit of Fix Plus in hopes to bind it together and make it a little bit more concentrated. So I am going to press this on with my 217 and begin to bring it up towards that crease color on the outer corner, right on the edge. Take the tip of the brush with no additional products once you have applied the majority of the products and diffuse that crease out. So this is about what it should look like. So now let's move on to the lid. So now I want to apply a tacky base on the lid because I know the glitter shades require an additional adhesive to make them pop and adhere. I have a sample of the NARS Pro Prime Smudge Proof Eyeshadow Base, so I'm going to apply that all over the lid. So it has like a little doe foot. It's kind of lifting up my concealer, but that's alright, because it's going to get covered up anyways. I am just going to smooth that out all on my lid. So I have a flat shader brush. This is a MAC 242 and I'm going to go in with the color Fuse. Even though I already put down an additional base, I want to take it to the next level still. So I'm going to spray my brush again with Fix Plus. I am going to press this on the lid. Kind of press it on the line where our outer corner color ends. And then bring it up towards the crease. I still have a little bit of fallout. I actually just don't feel like that is popping enough on my eyelids. I have some liquid sugar. This is by a brand called Kandy Cosmetics. And I have my little MAC Petri dish, but on the inside I can apply products. So I'm going to squeeze a little bit of that in there. So just like maybe 3 or 4 drops in here. I'm going to dip my brush in here and get this on my brush. Really dampen up the brush and then go back in with the eyeshadow. Oh yes, that looks so much better. And I am not going to apply that on my inner corner. I do want to apply another eyeshadow. So here's what it looks like once it's applied and smoothed out and packed on, to get a decent amount of glitter to make me feel like I have a little bit of something going on my eyelids. So now I'm going to take the color In Heat. And this is a Royal & Langnickel BOM 50 brush. And so let's pack this on the inner corner. This color is a lot more pigmented than the last color. Now I'm going to clean up the fallout that I've gotten, put on some liner and lashes, and I'll be right back and we can do the lower lash line together. So I'm going to go back in with the color In Heat and the BOM 50 brush. Very carefully, I'm going to apply that on the lower inner corner. And across the rest of the lower lash line, I'm going to go in with the color Sophia with the same brush. So here's my final eye look. My final thoughts on this palette is that I feel like this is a skip. I personally do not like the colors in this palette on my complexion. I also do not like the formulation of the majority of the eyeshadows in this palette. I feel like the matte eyeshadows in here, for me, they applied a bit patchy. It took too much time for me to blend out these matte eyeshadows. I'm used to NARS' other eyeshadow formula and other eyeshadow formulas on the market that's going to give me an easier blend. As far as the glittery shades, I only like 2 of them. The other glittery shades in this palette, I feel like it took way too much work to make them opaque. And even without trying to make them opaque, I feel like the fallout was too much. I just feel like they were gritty. They were getting everywhere. But even still with this, I just feel like it took way too long to build up these eyeshadows. They gave me a really difficult time when applying them on my eyes. I had a lot of fallout, and then on top of that, I just really don't like these colors. I feel like they don't pop on my complexion. These are so muted and dull that everything just looks taupe on me, and I personally do not prefer this eyeshadow palette. Let me know what you all think about this palette down in the comments section. I look forward to reading you guys' comments. So I'll talk to you all in my very next video, which will be super soon. Smooches. Bye.